Just because a movie's been made doesn't mean that it should be seen by everyone. The content of the film may be just right for you, but for someone else, it could be very, very wrong. The truth is, it's difficult to tell people what they should or shouldn't see on the silver screen. But most of us agree that young, impressionable minds should not be exposed to everything that's out there. Today we're going to talk about the industry's rating system and your responsibility to enforce it here at the theater.
You know, a lot of people are in the dark about the movie rating system. Ratings aren't about the quality of a film, but rather the content. And having a rating system helps parents make informed decisions about what their kids should see.
And it's not a system enforced by law, it's actually voluntary. So keep watching. There's a lot to learn, and parents everywhere are counting on you. Now, as you may be aware, the business of showing movies is closely associated with a few letters, those being G, P, R, N, and C.
And two numbers, 13 and 17.
Well, let's start with G. G stands for general audiences, meaning all ages are admitted. In other words, there's probably nothing in the film that a parent would object to their children seeing or hearing. Violence is kept to a minimum, but nudity, sex, drugs, you won't see them in a G-rated film.
Now, PG, as you may know, stands for parental guidance. Some material in the movie may be inappropriate for younger children. This could mean that there are some words or scenes that parents might not want their children to be exposed to.
PG-13, however, represents a strong caution to parents that the film may contain material inappropriate for any children 13 and younger. Parents should learn more about the movie before allowing their younger children to attend. There may be some reference to sex, drug use, violence, or some nudity or language that the parent might not want their child 13 years or younger to see.
R means restricted. Anyone under the age of 17 must be accompanied by a parent or other adult guardian. Now, parents are urged to learn more about the film before taking their children to see it. An R rating can be due to, among other things, language, depiction of theme, violence, sex, or its portrayal of drug use.
And finally, NC-17. This means that no one 17 or under is admitted, regardless of who's with them. This rating signifies that the rating board believes that most American parents would feel that the film is patently adult in nature, and that no one under 18 should be allowed to see it. Such a film may contain explicit sex scenes, coarse language, heavy drug use, or excessive violence. Since 1968, our industry has policed itself with a voluntary system for ratings. The rating board, which is made up of parents, views each film that is submitted and votes on the rating. Filmmakers can choose to have their film rated or not. And theater owners can choose to participate in the rating system. The good news is that the overwhelming majority of filmmakers and theater owners do follow the rating system, allowing parents to make informed decisions about whether they want their children to see a particular film. Now, that's not to say that under our voluntary system we don't want to card our customers who may not look old enough to see a particular film. Of course we do. But your theater should have guidelines for how to handle those situations.
And your manager will go over your theater-specific policies regarding the rating system and its enforcement. But there are general principles that virtually every theater can employ to help make the process run smoothly. These techniques will help you enforce the rating system without offending patrons or slowing down the operation, even on a Saturday night with 3,000 people trying to get into a megaplex.
Enforcement of the rating system affects both cashiers and the ushers. Let's start here at the box office. First things first, most theaters require cashiers to be at least a junior or senior in high school. Managers have found that, at least as far as ratings are concerned, the older box office personnel are, the less likely they are to succumb to peer pressure or intimidation from friends who want to get into R-rated films. Now, we all understand that there will be times when checking ID and sometimes refusing people tickets can be uncomfortable. Just do your best to treat the situation professionally, and with practice, you'll be able to treat these situations with confidence. Remember that this system is important, and your ability to comply with its guidelines is integral to its success. But in order to comply with the guidelines, you must understand the rating system. You should be aware of the meaning of each rating, the rating for each film showing, and know how your theater wants you to deal with the age-related enforcement issues. Next, the box office itself. Ratings for each picture should be on the marquee, box office signs, and on the phone recordings. Along with showtimes, the recording should include why the film has the rating that it received. You can find this information in the MPAA rating bulletin that managers receive each week. This bulletin should be kept in the box office at all times, so that when someone asks why, you'll have an answer for them. It's also a good idea to keep a synopsis of each film on hand so that inquisitive parents can learn more about the movie their kids want to see. They can then make a more informed decision as to whether to let their children see that film or select another. And if you're on the phone with someone, it's a good time to remind them if your theater requires photo ID or parental purchase of tickets for R-rated films. Also, while you're setting up the box office each day, post a note that shows the birth date 17 years before today's date. That will make it easier for you to check ID, and you won't have to be doing quick math to figure it out. Now, before a customer gets in line to buy a ticket, it's important that there be no confusion about your theater's policy regarding admittance to restricted films. In addition to getting help from ushers on this matter, a sign should be posted, large enough to be seen from 10 to 20 feet in front of the box office. It can be on the window itself, in front, on top, or anywhere as long as people can read it.
Okay, it's showtime. So let's see how you would do in these situations.
Yeah, I'd like 2 tickets to Gore Galore.
Okay, the film they want to see is rated R, and you're not sure if our teenager here is 17 or not. But since they're with a parent, it doesn't matter. If the film was rated NC-17, then ID would have been necessary. But this raises a legitimate question. Who is and is not an adult guardian? Well, this is clearly a judgment call. If it merely appears to be a friend who's slightly older, well, that doesn't qualify. Generally, however, teachers, ministers, and camp counselors bringing a class or a group do qualify as adult guardians. And this is one area where your maturity and judgment as the cashier come into play. Now, what does accompanying parent or adult guardian really mean? Well, that depends on your theater's policies. Some theaters require the parent to buy the tickets and actually sit with the teenage patron. Others insist that the parent buy the ticket, but do not require them to actually watch the movie with the teen. Still others say that the parent must show up to buy the ticket, but doesn't need to stay at the theater. Some theaters, however, require only reasonable proof that a parent has given consent. In small communities where the manager may personally know many of their customers, a prearranged phone call from the parent may suffice. A computer database or a card file of parental consent forms can also assist in this process.
You're a manager?
Yes, I am. But keep in mind that other guests will see unaccompanied underage patrons in the auditorium and may bring it to your attention. So, be ready to explain your theater's policy.
Yeah, it's right down. 2 for Gore Galore at 5:30.
Okay, now there's clearly no adult guardian here, and this couple is probably underage. And as you are no doubt aware, Gore Galore is rated R. So, in a kind, routine manner, it's time to ask for ID. The idea here is not to embarrass anyone, but to explain the age restriction for the R-rated film and determine whether this couple is old enough to see the film without an adult.
Gore Galore is rated R. Unless you're 17, you must have a parent with you to see it. May I please see some picture ID?
Next question. What is considered proper proof of age? Well, basically any picture ID is acceptable, but be sure to look at the picture and description closely to make sure they match. A state driver's license or a student ID with a picture are acceptable, but in some areas, such items are easily altered. Check with your manager to make sure what is permissible. What is definitely not proper proof of age? Birth certificates? No pictures. Class rings? They could be anybody's. Or letter jackets? I don't think so. If they don't have an acceptable ID or they're not old enough, be polite when you explain that you can't sell them a ticket and then offer them an alternative movie choice.
I'm sorry, that show is rated R. Is there another movie you'd like to see?
Now a couple of notes about the NC-17 rating. While there have only been a few films to actually receive this rating, it is important to know that any unrated film is to be treated as if it were NC-17. Often foreign films are released unrated. If your theater specializes in these pictures, check with your manager as to how to enforce the system. When it's necessary to card someone, even if they're with a parent or adult guardian, handle it this way.
Hello, welcome to the Bijou. How may I help you?
2 for Gore Galore.
I'm sorry, that film is rated NC-17. You must be at least 18. May I see a picture ID, please?
Keep in mind that the patron must be 18, not 17, to see the film.
I'm sorry, you must be at least 18 years old. Is there another film you'd like to see?
Listen, I'm his father, and I'm taking he and his girlfriend in to see the movie, so they're coming in with me, okay?
Well, that film is restricted, and we're only allowed to sell tickets to someone who's over the age of 17, even if they're accompanied with a parent or adult guardian.
Are you trying to tell me I can't take my own son?
It's always possible that a parent or a guardian will protest.
Yes, sir.
And if they can't accept what you've told them, call a manager.
Manager for you.
Now, ushers, gather round. Let's talk about the concept known as crossovers. Believe it or not, underage guests will sometimes buy tickets to films rated PG, then cross over to an R-rated show. Here's how you can help prevent this from happening. On a slow night or in a small theater, you can keep tabs on someone you may suspect as being a likely candidate to cross over. Checking tickets at the entry to the auditorium of an R-rated film is an efficient way of knowing who enters. Of course, the ticket taker at the drop box needs to remind all patrons to keep their stubs in order to get into their auditorium. A similar plan is to have the cashier apply a rubber stamp to the hands of those entering R-rated shows. An usher at the door to the auditorium can check for hand stamps when someone attempts to enter after the film is started. If a film is rated NC-17, many theaters will post an usher outside the auditorium doors during the entire movie. When the layout permits, your manager will try to schedule all the R-rated films in one area of the building. This makes it easier for ushers to make sure that all guests in that area have the proper ticket. Finally, when you're doing your auditorium walkthrough during a movie, be sure to keep an eye open for underage customers. If you find someone without proper tickets, they should immediately be asked to leave the auditorium. Follow your theater's policy as to whether they are allowed to go to the correct auditorium or must leave the building. I loved it.
Pretty good. Well, we're leaving the theater now.
Well, by our own choice.
And as we do, hopefully you now have a better idea of the need and the responsibilities you have for enforcing the industry's rating system. Remember, we don't want to embarrass or hassle people. We just want to do our part to make the rating system work. And it isn't about whether a movie is good or not. It's about helping parents make a choice about the films that their kids see.
And every kid is different. What may be okay for one 13-year-old might not be okay for their 13-year-old friend to see. And in the end, only parents can really make these decisions. The ratings help them do that. So it takes a little extra attention on your part, but it's the right thing to do.
You don't want to see that.
Wait, I'm old enough. I mean, I know I don't look old enough, but I could get some ID.
No. You look old enough, trust me. It's the closing credits. You don't want to see that.
You know, you're right.
Yeah.